Hello, everybody. Ready to watch movies deliciously? That's our new motto. Have you gotten your Black Phillip yet? Anyway, welcome to the Witches Movie Coven. This is where we every Wednesday live talk about movies. Which movies, witches in movies, and which movies. Which movie we're going to talk about today? Hi, everybody. Hi, Lunar Witch Show. Is Harry Potter. We're going to start at the beginning, but let me introduce my co-hosts. I am Patti Negri. You probably know me from the Witching Hour and from whatever else, bathroom walls across America. My beautiful co-hosts we have Heather Greene, who indeed, besides being a witch, wrote the ultimate guide on witches in movies. It's big, it's fat, it's got everything in it. Lights, camera, witchcraft. So if you are into witches and movies, get this book and read along with us. Also, we have in the hat, under the hat, we have the beautiful Courtney Buckley with us, also a witch and a movie expert in her own right, filled with animals and things all around her. And we will get back to you on that. And Richard-Lael Lillard, the gentleman psychic, all dear friends, all amazing people. So you guys enjoy. Let's talk movies. So Courtney, before we even get right, I'm going to hand it right over to Heather since she is our expert. What's going on, Courtney?
I am so excited. For any of our viewers who have been watching along with us, Harry Potter is to me, as you can tell, what the Addams Family is to Richard-Lael. And I grew up with it and I was made for this moment. I have so many things to talk about. So I would like to, if it's an appropriate time, say a nice thank you to my place of employment. I do my tours out of a shop, or two shops really, in Salem, Massachusetts. One is called Remember Salem and the other one is called Why Not Wands, and they're located at 127 Essex Street if you want to pay them a visit. But my boss heard that I was doing this, and Remember Salem is all Harry Potter merchandise and some other little fandoms thrown in. And then Why Not Wands looks just like Ollivanders, and they make their own wands there. So he put me together a whole bag. I am a Ravenclaw, as I have represented here. Black Phillip, clearly a Slytherin. And I'm drinking butterbeer. And he has a new friend. If any of you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen her. They were watching Harry Potter together the other day, and it was glorious. And I am so excited.
You could not be more prepared. I love that. So thank you. Thank you for bringing all your magic and all your critters with us. I just have Black Phillip. I have a official wand too that I do, and everybody get your wands, whatever you have. We're going to wands up and wands down throughout the show, indeed. But let's just kind of turn this right over to Heather. So Harry Potter, what's Harry Potter, et cetera, et cetera.
Et cetera, et cetera. So I just can't stop giggling at Courtney, first of all. I just can't stop loving the motif there. I have personally also loved the movies and but have 3 children who were Harry Potter obsessed. So there's Harry Potter stuff all over the place, and I actually have a Harry Potter style shield in my kitchen that is hanging on the wall that was made for me. So we have a great love for this story. But history-wise, okay, so I've studied this, and I have a lot of things I could say for hours and hours, which I won't now, from the different worlds that I have done and studied. I've done academic reporting on how Harry Potter has been received by different religious communities, including witches. I've studied it from a film perspective, and I didn't write about it in my book. Why? Because it's a British film for the most part. It is very, very British, and so my book was on American films. But Harry Potter was so influential in this country that I had to touch on it and the movies that it spawned, so to speak. Harry Potter, in my mind, is very, very different than most witch films we talk about here, because most witch films are about women's power and women's negotiation of their place in society. Harry Potter is not that. Harry Potter is really the story of a boy's search for, it's a hero's journey. It's the boy's coming of age story, essentially. So it's very different, and it's epic. and it has so much going on. So there's a totally different than what when we normally talk about, and it had great reception, but it also had a lot of backlash from different religious communities, including the pagan community. So including witches. Not all witches like Harry Potter, and it's not just because of the controversies with its author. There's a lot of reasons. So it's very interesting how witches have received this movie, not just movie, but series of movies. But I've enjoyed it personally. I've loved watching my children enjoy it over and over and over again. And we have numerous wands in the house, and I have Snapes and Lupins right here. So I'm ready to wands up or wands down.
We'll see.
Yeah,
And you say not movies. If the first one was 2001, we have over 20 years of movies. 20 something years of movies. How many movie series can even do that? They've got to be. I mean, I know they're probably not beating Star Wars, but they can't have too many.
Well, I would say they do beat Star Wars because Star Wars movie, the Star Wars fandom is epic. The Star Trek fandom is epic. Harry Potter meets that level. But I think just quality-wise, the Harry Potter movies, and I know that there's Star Wars fans, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I'm saying this. I think there are some of the Star Wars movies that don't live up to other ones. Harry Potter's movies are consistent for the most part. They're consistent and they build. And Star Wars movies don't do that to the same degree and the same quality across the board. It's not as consistent. And Star Trek either. The fandoms are at the same level, I would say, at this point. My judgment. And I studied the fandoms. I actually did an academic study on fandoms. So that would be my judgment.
Okay, beautiful. So we will talk all about that. You guys, thank you. Everybody's joining in. Everything from Harry Potter made my son love reading, from Amber to this is great. Shiro's Dream, all the HP world. So Richard-Lael, we haven't talked to you yet today. So just whether we get into the depth of everything, we just want to say hi. What's your thoughts on Harry Potter?
You know what? I downloaded the wrong movie. I think it was Harry Pothead I watched.
Oh,
no, I'm just kidding. No, I didn't. But I did download the wrong movie because I had the commentary, which on one hand was really intriguing to hear the perspective of the director. At the same time, I couldn't enjoy the movie because at this part, we were actually blowing real letters into the vent down through the fireplace, and each one of those was a real letter. And I'm going, yes, but I want to watch the film. I want to watch the movie. And then I was too cheap and too lazy to look for another rendition, so I watched it with the commentary. And I did enjoy it. I thought it was quite fun.
Okay,
Which one did you watch?
The first one. The Sorcerer's Stone.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you my Amazon Prime login because I have all of them and you can watch them all.
I love
without commentary.
I have to tell you, though, I enjoyed it, but not enough to watch it again.
Fair. That's fair.
So from a witchy, occult, magical point of view, did you have any opinions that way, Richard-Lael, or is it just not your kind of movie?
I loved it. I thought it was really quite intriguing. I from the commentary, I learned some things that were added for movie magic, and I thought that was brilliant. Originally in the book, from what I'm hearing in the commentary, originally in the book, when they're doing the flying with the brooms and the, what is it called? It's the
Quidditch.
when they're flying on the brooms, it was just they had stadium seating, and so the director decided that they needed, in order to have the visuality of them actually flying and flying fast, they had to have all of the stands on those towers. And I thought that really added. I loved the use of Latin. I thought that was quite good. Though smelly armpits, I never quite understood that one. Sounds like a deodorant commercial or something. But it was good. I liked it. Even with the magic, I thought, it's clearly fantasy, but it was good. I enjoyed it. I have to admit, though, I always root for the villains, but it was good. Snape is not really the villain, but I liked Snape. You think he's the villain.
Right. So let's talk villains. Shall we talk Voldemort?
You're not supposed to say his name.
He who shall not be named.
Oh, I'm sorry. I knew that. I'm always bad. I say the name of Shakespeare in the wrong places. Oh God, I'm going to be quiet now. Watch my Zoom go out. Yeah, sacrilege. Sorry. It got past me. I don't know. So, should we talk about he who shall not be named?
I haven't gotten that far, accepting the fact that I only saw from the commentaries in the director's cut, he was talking about from the Sorcerer's Stone, because that's as far as I've gotten, was that the face on the back of the professor's head, he was surprised at how much that it looked like the character, but he wished that he could have gone back through and used, was it Ray Fiennes? I think that's who it was, who was Voldemort. He who should not be named.
Yes.
And he said he was surprised at how much it looked like that character, but he really wanted to go back and redo it so that it actually had Ray Fiennes' face as Voldemort.
Okay.
The villains here they build, so you don't really. I mean, in the beginning, it's like a singular idea and a suggestion, and then it builds over the series. So you really don't get that, and it was done brilliantly enough that you don't get worn out after 8 movies to the finale, which again is that hero's story. And Harry Potter, who comes in and is trying to find his place, his father's been killed. Now the classic coming of age story told for boys, a very, very standard, is this sense of my father's been killed. I don't have a place. Now I have to take a place in the order of things. I have to become the one, the leader, but to do that, I have to overcome a false father. And so he who should not be named is...
Two of us have said it now.
Is the false father. It's the Darth Vader of the series. It's that, of course, Darth Vader is the real father too, but we're not comparing. But in the cases, it's this false sense of having to overcome that father figure and take your place in the order of things. That's the standard tale told of a boy's coming of age story. This is very classic. And that's what Harry Potter goes through in 8. And they did it brilliantly. And so he who shall not be named is introduced slowly. Richard-Lael, you'll get to him. Just give it time.
Villains. I feel like I would be remiss if I did not talk about this aspect of villains. So those of you who know me or know me well know that I grew up in the Pentecostal movement. And so we didn't really even have television until my father was much older and went, oh, I can watch Westerns in the church channel. So I remember one of the things that they were preaching against Harry Potter was the villainy. And the villainy was the moving staircase, because think how confusing those children would be. They would be so confused if they were going to one room and then the staircase moved to another. That's confusing our children.
That's wild.
Right? I mean, like 20 years ago, that's the only thing I remember them actually preaching against, that and the witchcraft. But it was the moving staircase that really got them the most.
Oh, wow.
That's funny. So were you allowed to watch it, or you were kind of grown up enough by then?
I was an adult at that point. So I was still very Pentecostal, and I didn't watch it. So I could have watched it if I wanted, but I didn't, because I was very devoted to Shumbaladi Hasiai, all of that. Which is fine if you are, but it was in those days, witches were everywhere. I mean, this was 2000, and I grew up in the time of the Satanic Panic, so everything was off limits. Queen, because if you play it backwards, he sings, "I love to smoke marijuana." He doesn't actually say that. but that's what they think. I wasn't allowed to watch the Smurfs. I wasn't allowed to watch He-Man. And then this was when the books were coming out in the 90s. I was a little too old, but also had all of that satanic panic sort of filling my head. So I could have watched it if I would have wanted to, but I didn't watch it because the staircases were evil.
I want one of those staircases.
Yeah. The interesting part, Richard-Lael, is that I did one of the works I did and the studies I did is that was specifically about the Christian reception of Harry Potter and how that changed from the 90s into 2000s. By 2005, there was a complete reversal, and they started to use it. The community started to use it to teach their biblical teaching. So it completely converted over. It was so popular. I guess that's the word, monolithic. It was just overtook the 2000s as far as pop culture. You couldn't escape from it. So they began to use it. And our evil character, who shall not be named, became a stand-in for the devil, with Harry Potter being championing evil. So it completely changed.
And I do find it so funny too, because when I grew up in the church, I was a Bible literalist. So if it said it in the King James, that I believed it, right? And so when we think about magic is the manipulation. It is our will over matter. That's what magic is. And throughout the Old and the New Testament, there are saints who have seers. They prophesy. Others can teleport from one space to another. Jesus walks on water. He feeds all of these thousands with 2 loaves of bread and 5 little fishes. So magic is very innate in Jewish mysticism, in Christianity, but for some reason in this phase, by the time of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, I don't know why it was that fantasy of Harry Potter was too extreme for those Christian groups. I don't understand it. I don't.
Can I tell you the story of how I got involved in Harry Potter?
Please do.
Yeah, please.
Okay. I feel like before I get into it, I have to preface this, like it's my duty to preface this, that I know things differently now than when I was a kid. So Harry Potter, the book, will forever be written by Anonymous. And I, as a member of the LGBTQ community, do not support the author in any way, shape, or form. So that's it. Harry Potter by Anonymous. But when I got into it, I was young enough to like be caught up in it. And I started reading them when the 3rd book came out. And all the kids at my school were all super into it. I had no idea what it was. And my grandmother knew that it was like the hip thing that all the kids were into. So she bought me the books, but she bought me the 1st book and the 3rd book because she couldn't find the 2nd book. And I devoured it like so fast. I went through the 1st book that I couldn't wait the however many days it took her to find the 2nd book and give it to me. I skipped over it entirely and I read the 3rd book. So I had no idea what had happened in the 2nd book. And there was like all these throwbacks. I ended up having to go back and reread like the whole thing. And that was it. That was like when I stayed home sick from school, instead of watching The Price is Right, I was rereading Harry Potter. Like that was, and it gave me that escape, and like it supported my childhood in a time that I went through some really hard things, and I always had Hogwarts to go to. And when the movie came out, the 1st movie came out, I remember my mother was so excited to take us to see it, and I didn't know if I wanted to go. I was unsure if I wanted to go because I didn't want the movie to spoil this beautiful, imaginative place that I would escape to. And I finally decided I was going to do it, and I went and I watched it, and yes, things were different, but it was so magical. And I find that even now as an adult, all these years later, going to see this movie or watching this movie, when it starts and I hear the music and it's that like peppy, because it gets darker, obviously, as some of us know, as the series goes on, but that very first time it's that light peppy music, and I get filled with that same imaginative, like, youthful place. My safe place is Hogwarts. And it's just, to me, it was such an integral part of who I was growing up that when all of this stuff came out, you know, that now as an adult I understand better, you know, about the author. It's not something, it's more than that to me. It became its own thing to me. So it's very much still holds a place in my heart. And getting to share that with my kid and bring my kid to Hogwarts for the first time. And we still, to this day, like just on Halloween, the local movie theater to us had a showing of Harry Potter where they, when they were on the train, they turned the lights up and they brought a little cart around with a sorting hat on it and handed out jelly beans to the kids when the lady brings around the trolley. But, you know, I feel like, I do feel like, having said that, like some of my favorite parts of the book are missing in the movie. Like the when they go down the trap door and they have to solve all those puzzles to go through, they skip some, which I thought were like the coolest part of the book. And like Peeves not being there. But as someone who would sit through an 8-hour rendition word for word of the Harry Potter book, I get the choices that they made, and I still love the movies so much. So I'm sorry that I'm monologuing, but I'm very excited.
No, it's okay. I mean, asking somebody, Robert wants to know which house we would be in.
So I'm a Ravenclaw. I just told Heather this story, but when I logged on to Pottermore to get sorted, I originally got Ravenclaw, was so mad, wanted Gryffindor. So I made a new account and I tried it again and changed my answers, got Slytherin. That was offensive. So then I made a new account, changed my answers again, got Gryffindor, and then realized that's the kind of thing a Ravenclaw would do. So then I embraced it. And my Black Phillip is a Slytherin.
Ah. My Black Phillip needs an outfit, I think. Everybody's got theirs all dressed up. Oh my. Oh yeah. Oh, you've got matching scar. Oh.
Well, he's got the
I don't have enough
tie.
color. Wow.
Mine's not dressed.
We have naked. We're into naked, Richard-Lael. Skyclad. Before we go, it's slowed down, but we're going to go back to Potter. But somebody was we compared it to C.S. Lewis. I saw The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and that's when it first came out. I don't think I had seen it yet, and that's what I thought it was going to be, like Jesus' story hidden for some reason. I don't know why. I guess because it was this fantasy type thing. And I actually kind of avoided seeing it first. Not that I didn't like C.S. Lewis, but I thought it was like this hidden story, and I thought they were going to do too. Is there any comparisons to that here, Heather, or do people do that? Did I just make that up, me and whoever wrote that?
No, I don't think I think it's a fair comparison, because you're looking at another coming of age story if you look at Peter specifically and C.S. Lewis, and they're both epic stories where children from our world enter into a fantasy magical world. So there's lots of comparisons. I don't think the intention of Harry Potter was to have that underlying Christian tale, which is obviously in C.S. Lewis's. But what's interesting to me, what's interesting in the studies that I do is that the C.S. Lewis tales, the Harry Potter stories, and then also the Lord of the Rings were all released as big epic films during the same period of time. It was a trend. Harry Potter may have started it because we trend in what we like to watch on this big silver screen. And so we had left the witch film stage. We had left the Blair Witch Project and Charmed, and all that stuff started to go away. It wasn't interesting anymore for us. And so we moved into the Harry Potter age. And I have a chapter specifically on that. I think I call it Boy Wizards and Teen Witches or something like that. And so we go into the 2000s, which we have C.S. Lewis. We have the Lord of the Rings. We have all these magical worlds. We have Harry Potter just reign true during that period. And we have all the spin-offs that came out of Harry Potter. Some good, some not so good. But we had like the Wizards of Waverly Place, and you have Twitches and Twitches 2, and you name all these other magical worlds. So yes, I think that's a fair comparison. Obviously written in very different periods of time, all of them. I loved the C.S. Lewis tales, and I had no clue that there was any Christian undertones whatsoever growing up when I read them. Nobody told me, and I didn't see them. But I didn't grow up Christian, so I didn't see it. I love those stories.
Yeah, me too. I had a cat named Aslan. So, but I just didn't like that. I thought was a secret thing for some reason.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
it
we
was
have
funny.
a Narnia cabinet. We have a cabinet upstairs that we're convinced it will take us to Narnia if we try hard enough. So yeah, we like the magic part of it.
Ah. Okay, so I'm seeing lots of good versus evil, and we never got to houses. I guess we can get to houses. But again, thank you everybody who's jumping in all over about the classic hero's journey. Yes, coming of age and hero's journey. So okay, houses. Oh, Courtney's already said her. Richard-Lael, do you have a house?
I mean, I don't really know anything about it, but I'm assuming I would be a Slytherin. I think, considering, my penchant for the dark, I think I would be a Slytherin. Though I don't know. I could be Hufflepuffing all the way out. I don't know. I could be a Hufflepuff. I don't know.
You need to get sorted. I'm feeling Ravenclaw. I don't know about you, Courtney.
Well,
what do you think? Ravenclaw? You're feeling Ravenclaw.
I was in a Harry Potter spin-off fan-made thing, and even still now the director comes along, and whenever he's brought up in my circle, I say, who? And they say, oh, Aaron. I go, who? I go, I'm sorry. Anyway, but I played this character that apparently in all of the lore, it's never said what house he's from. And I have a cane that has a raven claw. So I said, oh, I guess he's a Ravenclaw because it matches the cane, right? So maybe I don't know.
I feel like you would be. I feel like the Sorting Hat would want to put you in Ravenclaw, but I know because the Sorting Hat is on my head and it's telling me right now that the Sorting Hat does take your preference into consideration. So if you wanted to be in Slytherin, it would hear you out.
Okay. Okay,
what
Heather?
about you, Patti?
Well, I have all this Gryffindor stuff. That's because my child got sorted into Gryffindor and was dressed up as Ginny for Halloween and all that good stuff. But I was sorted into Slytherin, which shocked me, but secretly also was kind of satisfying. So I'm just gonna let that go right there. And I need to change my scarf color. Eventually, I'll get my own Slytherin scarf. But yes, I was sorted into Slytherin. Surprising most people, probably.
Right. But it's a beautiful color, and you always have shades of purple, so there you go. And even when you're not wearing it.
It's black. Yes. Look at him. He is actually black. He's not a purple black Philip.
You have a purple black Philip. That is wild.
Look at his tail. What about you, Patti? What were you sorted into?
What do you guys think?
I feel Hufflepuff or Slytherin, like a mix of both.
Mm-hmm, that's what I'm saying.
Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out, anybody out there know who this wand is? It's one of the houses, and I've totally forgot. They're hard to tell because they're very similar to each other, but I can't. So anyway, that's
one
it.
That is. We'll have to find that out.
We'll have to find that out. I might have the box somewhere, so I will look for the box, and then I will know. So Haley is related to the author that shall not be named on our dad's side. That's cool. We are all related to all sorts of people. So the Muggle, we're talking Muggle. So, all right. Courtney, you said you had more to talk about than anybody about this movie. So tell us your best story that you wanted to talk about this movie, about Courtney.
Okay, so I think there's something magical to me. I mean, obviously the whole thing's magical, but specifically for the first movie, when Harry is, he's obviously mistreated by his family. He gets this letter, the letter's all coming pouring through the chimney and all that, which is awesome scene. But then he goes to Diagon Alley for the first time. And when he walks out into Diagon Alley, it's like, I get this feeling, it's like chills. I'm getting chills right now just talking about it. I've seen it 100,000 times, but it's that feeling of like coming home, and he's not even there yet. He's not even at Hogwarts, but he's found that, like Heather was talking about, like finding your place in the world. Like it's that place where finally he belongs, and he doesn't even know. He doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't know he belongs there, but it's that instantaneous feeling that I I feel like, well, let me just walk out to a brick wall and start poking it around, because I'm going to find Diagon Alley and I'm going to find my place to belong. And I think that that's really what Harry Potter did for me when I was a kid. And I think it did that for a lot of people. It did that for my kid too. You know, it's we watch this coming of age story, we watch it, and it's different than like the other movies that we've talked about, obviously, but we watch this coming of age story, and gender aside, when you experience it at that age, it's really like you're experiencing it yourself. And I think it gives that escape. And I think it did that for a lot of people. And that might be, you know, kind of why it took off the way that it did. It's just as magical in the book as it is in the movie. And I think they did a really good job with that. And then of course, you know, we're talking about the first Harry Potter tonight, obviously, but as the story goes on, you know, it gets darker and darker and things get more serious, and it's almost like the stories grow with you as you're watching it. Or that's how it was for my experience, because I grew up with it. So every year a new book would come out, or however long it would be until a new book came out. I remember like my very first experience with Amazon ever was getting Goblet of Fire delivered, and every kid in my neighborhood, and I lived on a dead end street with all these kids, and our parents had all ordered it for us, pre-ordered it. So it was all supposed to come on the same day. And we were sitting, waiting at the door, waiting for the new book to come. And then, you know, we went somewhere because our parents were like, you guys are being ridiculous and we need to go do something. So we went somewhere and we were all frothing at the mouth, because what if it came when we got there, and then we came back and one person got it and another one didn't. And it was like running around. And then on, you know, this is not my favorite topic, but on my wedding day, the last book was, or I'm sorry, not my wedding day. But prior to getting married, the last book was delivered. I was a grown adult, and I remember running to the mailbox, like speeding back to from wherever I was, to get that box out of the mailbox, to crack it open. And then I had to go on a vacation with family, and I literally just spent the whole time with my nose in the book, because I had to devour it and I had to see how it ended. And then it was the day of my wedding. I wanted to bring it with me, and we forgot to pack it and couldn't go back and get it. And I was so upset for my whole honeymoon because I didn't have my Harry Potter book with me. Like it's something that has just been a part of who I am. And that's why, not to make things, you know, not to bring things down, but like when all the controversy happened with the author who shall not be named, like you want to stand behind and support your people. But at the same time, like you can't remove that part of yourself. And it's such a hard place to sit in, because I would love to just light all my stuff on fire and you know, down with this attitude of this person that created this space. But it took on its own identity for me, and it has nothing to do with the author anymore. It's what it became for me.
And can I say something to that? I think that's an important thing you just said. And in this particular series is not the only one that's ever had this conflict for people. I mean, you think back to there's artists from decades and hundreds of years ago that we find that their personal life or their personal opinions were problematic. I mean, even L. Frank Baum, you know, he had some things to say that were not quite what would match up with my personal politics. You think about Cosby more recently. You think about The Mists of Avalon, and I had to write some articles about the author of that and some of the stuff of her personal history. So we have that, and when you finally come face to face with the story of the person that created something that has meant so much to you, that has changed you, that has affected your life in such a way that is profound, almost religiously and sacred, religiously and in a sacred way, you create this, there's a conflict in your brain. And what do you do? How can you break that apart? And I think that's a personal decision. Some people have totally removed Harry Potter from their lives. Other people have done what you do. And some other people are embracing it and saying, you know, it is what it is. I think that's a personal choice, and we can't criticize people for their choice in this matter, because art affects us deeply, spiritually, religiously, in ways that once it does, you can't extricate you. It's very hard to extricate that from your life. And so I think that's what you're saying, Courtney. And I think that's very brave of you to say that, and to make that choice for yourself. So yeah, I'm with you. And I've made the same choice. So I'm with you on that.
And me too. And you, again, because you don't want to negate your experiences. Again, you had life-changing experiences. That's your, like, Addams Family for Richard-Lael and Wizard of Oz for myself and for Heather. But, we don't, in olden days, people didn't know everybody's life story and history. Not that that's good or bad, but we don't really know much about things like that. And maybe that isn't what we need to put the focus on. I don't know.
No, there's so many, Patti. There's so many. I mean, after hearing, what's his name? I can't think of the actor's name, and he's a Holocaust denier. And I'd watched so many of his films, and I'm like, God, they're such good films. Am I going to be able to just remove that from myself and from the experience of those films because this particular actor is a Holocaust denier?
Right.
It's an important conversation you have with yourself and how.
Right.
So.
And I think that, like, obviously there's so many other things to talk about with Harry Potter, but I feel like I personally feel I have to just make that distinction when I'm coming into a public forum talking about it, that I'm not negating. My love for Harry Potter is so huge, but I'm not negating these things, these horrible things. Like, I don't want to make the whole thing about that, but I also feel like it just has to be, for me, just has to be noted, I guess. Because it's my current relationship with Harry Potter. My childhood relationship with Harry Potter was very different, but my current relationship with Harry Potter is colored by that. And it's a choice, and it's a hard one, but that's where me and HP are at today.
Okay. Heather, you had said, you had some other things to talk about the movie?
Well, I'm just going to feed in my tidbits, like I say, my Cliff Clavin moments, for if you get that Cheers reference, you'll understand. But what I would like to share is Courtney and I are from different generations. So, you grew up with Harry Potter as a child. I was too old for Harry Potter to be a child at that point. But I had children who are a little bit younger than when it first came out. But I started to watch Harry Potter on my own, but then eventually got to rewatch it and re-experience it through 3 children who were obsessed. And they read the book. I made them read the book before they could watch the movie. So I was able 3 times to go through the process again with 3 of them. And watching their excitement, going to Harry Potter Land in Florida, watching them watch the movies for the first time. And I got to do it 3 times. And that was really fun to see it through the eyes of children, in an exciting way. And that's why I wound up with all this stuff, all the wands and all the stuff. And it's the butterbeer. And oh gosh, I mean, butterbeer is awesome.
That's what I'm drinking right now.
For me. And there it is. We had it. You could actually buy it in stores, here in Atlanta too.
Yeah, it's so good.
But we have had so much fun doing. I've made costumes for them. We've all at some point been a Harry Potter character, and my kids think I'm a Professor Trelawney. That's what they bought me this because that's who they associate me with. If I was to be a character, I apparently would be Professor Trelawney. That's the way my kids see me. So that's how I experienced Harry Potter for the most part over the last 20 years.
That's beautiful. Gina's never tried butterbeer. I've never tried butterbeer either. It just doesn't sound so good.
It's really sweet.
So good.
Yeah. I live right in Hollywood. I live right by Universal Studios. So we have the whole Harry Potter world there like they do in Florida. But I must say my coolest Harry Potter movie wasn't the movie. I never read the books. And I want to talk to you about that, Heather. So were your kids like how you said, Courtney, you read the books, but you weren't disappointed in the movie. And so many, that's why I never read the books I already know there's a movie out. So were your kids happy about the movie once they read the books?
They didn't seem to care. They just knew they had to read the book before they watched the movie, so they just rolled. I never heard complaints. So,
Okay.
but they're young, so I don't know. They all grew up huge fans to this day.
That's good. I'll just have to tell you my experience of when they first opened up several years ago now at Universal Studios, the Harry Potter World, the Harry Potter Land, and the Harry Potter Virtual Ride. I got them because of where I live. They like to wine and dine us because we get traffic and stuff like that. So I was invited to the opening of the Harry Potter ride, and it was 3D and it was virtual. And they ended it within the first week because everybody got sick. It was fabulous. They took away the 3D. It is fabulous, but they had to change it. After we were like a special audience and not public yet. And it really, I didn't like throw up or anything, but it was like the sickest ride, literally and figuratively, I've ever had. But they changed it. So I'm one of the rare few in the world who got to see that before they had to dumb it down a little.
It's the best. It's that ride, the Hogwarts ride, is probably one of the best rides that I've been on. And 2 hour wait. The first time, the 2 hour wait, but it was worth it.
So I've never been to Universal, and honestly, it would be embarrassing. I don't know if I can go because I would be that person that falls to my knees and cries in front of everybody. I watched a video online of someone who was dressed all in the robes, and then the conductor of the train steps out and says like, "Welcome to Hogwarts" or something, and she just like breaks down, and I was watching that sobbing because I feel like that's how I would feel there, and I don't know who would ever dare to come with me because it would be embarrassing. But I planned an entire trip when they opened up Harry Potter, like the store in New York. I planned an entire trip around that. I got this sweatshirt, so I'm even wearing Harry Potter sweatshirt. And even that, I couldn't, like, I had to be first in line because I was afraid I wasn't going to get in. I walked around and like they have movie used on the screen props and stuff, and I had to like see all the things. And I brought my, he was 10, I think, at the time with me, my 10-year-old, and I was more excited than he was. And I was dragging him around the store like, look at this. Oh my God, look at this. Oh my God. Like, and it's honestly, it's embarrassing. And I'm jealous that you guys have been, and I want to live vicariously through you. Oh, thank you, Tabitha. I would embarrass you.
I'll go with you too.
I'll go with you too. I would totally go with you because if we enter Disneyland or Disney World right at the beginning, I break down and cry. So we're even.
Perfect. It's a date.
It's a date.
I mean, I break down and cry whenever I get on any roller coaster because then I get whiplash. So I would break down and cry, but for a different reason.
Yeah, I was trying to think is there any place like that would make me cry? I maybe just you and me, Richard-Lael. We'll go to cry on the big roller coasters. I
have to tell you though, I can't do roller coasters. And when I lived in Los Angeles, I even went on a date down to the Santa Monica Pier. And Patti, you know the Santa Monica Pier. You've been there. Yeah. So I went on this date on the Ferris wheel, and the Ferris wheel went up into the air, and then I went down into the floor of the carriage. The worst fear of heights. And I went, oh no! I'm gonna crawl on the floor. I'm okay. I'm gonna just crawl on the floor. It's fine. I don't want to look.
That's funny. Yeah, I like roller coasters. Actually, though they do beat you up a little bit, but.
Well, Patti, I was going to get back to something that would be interesting that just I got reminded of. One of the stories I did with Harry Potter was on wands specifically, and we all have wands tonight, I know, is that one of the issues that pagans had, I did a story on, is that there's a lot of pagans and witches that make wands, like the one Courtney has and the one Richard-Lael has, and I don't have my handmade one. They're witches that make actual wands. And so then after the movies came out, there were a lot of people that were going to places all over the world looking for wands because they wanted to have a Harry Potter wand. So they were going to real wand makers And some wand makers were not so happy about this. And there was one in the UK I wrote an article about who refused to sell wands to Harry Potter fans. He said, these wands are my wands that I made with my energy for magical purposes. I will not sell them as toys or as tchotchke for people that are Harry Potter fans. And he wouldn't do it. And he was in the news in the UK, and I did a story on him and chatted with him about it. I also chatted with another wand maker who said that they didn't care. They are Harry Potter fan and made wands and didn't care who they sold it to. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, about the real wands versus the ones like this one that came from the Ollivanders at Harry Potter Land. That's an interesting question.
I think it's teaching kids a different kind of magic. You point energy. Wands are energy. So yeah, we all have our beautiful crystal and stone and magical wands and all of our tools we use in our craft. But is that what your 5-year-old wants, or your 4? Give them this and teach them to do magic without everything that goes along. That's just my thought. That's silly. If I made wands, I'd be thrilled to make Harry Potter wands. I'll make Barbie wands. I'll make Wizard of Oz wands. I'll make all wands. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I get it from I get it. I don't necessarily think I'd do it the same way, but I understand where that person is coming from. But at the same time, I agree with you, Patti, entirely. Coming from someone who works basically in a wand store, they sell both. They sell, this one is handmade, and they make handmade ones that are run the gamut of what you can afford. But then they also have the licensed ones, because people come in and they want something that they connect to. And if you connect to it because you're a fan of Harry Potter and you want he who shall not be named's wand to do your dark work, then who's to stop you? But then if you feel like the wand chooses the wizard, right? So if you walk up and you're the kind of wizard that wants this wand that isn't licensed, but you know what? That's how you feel like your magic is going to run through your fingertips, then who cares? Have it your way.
Right. And if you're making wands, you get to choose. I see right here, natural born witch. Her wands are for practitioners, witch practitioners, and adults. And that's great. So that is good.
Right.
I wanted to go back because somewhere earlier said, this is Ron's wand.
Yeah.
Wand. So I read that.
We know.
Good. So it isn't by the house. It's we do know that the wand picks you, not you pick the house, but I didn't think so. The house doesn't mean anything about it. So Ron's wand, which makes perfect sense for me, I have to say.
I have Lupin's wand here. This is Lupin's, and this is Snape's wand that I have, which has paint on it. It's kids playing with it. So I have those two here, and somewhere we have Ginny's and Hermione's somewhere in the house as well.
Wow.
I have a question. Can we talk favorite characters?
Yes. In the last few minutes, let's talk favorite characters. Courtney.
I want to know who Heather's is.
Why me?
I don't know. You're as excited as I am. Not that you guys aren't excited, but Heather is, and I feel into it in the same kind of way that I am.
Yeah, I am into
read
it.
And seen them all.
I have read and seen them all. Give me a minute and let me think about it. I'm a Gemini and I have really trouble picking favorites. So give me a second. Let Richard-Lael and Patti go first.
Okay.
I mean, mine is really, really, really easy. You don't have to be psychic to know who is my favorite. But Grandpa's hammer, you shall be avenged. Oh, that was the wrong film.
Mine is Hermione. I just love
Hermione. I love that.
You watched her grow up. I mean, you watched everybody grow up, but
I love it.
Strong little girl. I just loved her.
I think I definitely have an affinity for Professor Trelawney. I think that's because she's you.
She's you.
Because it's apparently me. And also Professor. Now my brain is going to stop and think of what's the other professor's name. Courtney, help me out here.
McGonagall.
McGonagall. I love them. They're the characters, but I also I'm a Gemini. I can't pick my favorite character. It just really depends. It's so hard.
Want to know why I deflected to you? Because I can't pick mine.
Wait a minute. Ask me tomorrow. It'll be 3 different ones. I love the characters. Usually I love the characters that are not necessarily the main ones, because I love the characterizations of the other ones that are just so deep and fun, and that just have so much. I think this Halloween I dressed up as the evil, the girl. My brain is not thinking of names right now. It's just the way it's going. Bellatrix. I was Bellatrix for Halloween this year because my daughter said that's what I needed to be, and so that's who I dressed up this year as. So I love her too. I mean, there's just, I don't know. That's a bad question. Thanks, Courtney. Put me on the spot like that.
You're welcome. If I had to, wands to the head, pick one, I would probably say, well, I can't pick one, but I think both Sirius Black, because for me, and I Richard-Lael, you haven't met him yet, but you will. I loved that good. He was that real family. Not that family is chosen in my mind anyway, but for Harry, he was that real family, and he was really kind to him. Hagrid, because Hagrid kind of stepped in that role too, and then Lupin was always one of my favorites too. I know. That's what made me think of to ask this question.
All right, so we have lots of favorites, common favorite. All right, I know we're getting close to the end, and I want everybody to say, so everybody, and I mean you guys and the thing, we're just going to talk Harry Potter. We're going to do the overall everything. Should we do the whole series or just movie one, wands up or wands down?
I've only seen one. So
so let's just do one. This is the beginning of an empire. Everybody on live and everybody else. Wands up or wands down? Harry Potter, number 1.
I'm doing wands up, even though I've only seen one, and it was the director's cut commentary. I can see why people would like the film.
Okay, wands and bones up. Triple wands and bones up, Courtney.
Isn't it humorous?
Wands up. We've got wands up across the board. So this may be one of our first wands up. I'm not sure. It might be one of our first unanimous. So if you haven't watched it, everybody, check out Harry Potter. Courtney's going to pass out her prime number. So no, she's.
Can I just quickly note also, if you haven't read the books and you want to, but you're not a book person, the audiobooks, I can't for the life of me think of who it's narrated by, but the audiobooks are all narrated by the same person, and it is its own experience. Jim Dale. That's its own experience. I also have listened to all the audiobooks, and over the pandemic, they did something, I don't know if it's still available online for you to watch, but they had the stars of Harry Potter read chapters. And so it's them reading the book in their own voices. So there's all kinds of ways to consume Harry Potter, whatever your fancy is, and you can get immersed and get excited and get those wands up.
Get those wands up. So everybody grab your wands for next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. Do we want to think about what we want to talk about next week or figure that out later?
Harry Potter 2.
Harry Potter 2.
Oh, also, real quick, can I just say that if anyone in the chat wants to get some witchy gear, you can go to mysterycontrol.com because we've got some new designs out.
Oh,
and
yes.
Mysterycontrol.com.
We have some mysterycontrol.com, and we're all going to have matching shirts. Black Phillips. Yes.
I have to say, that I got, we had some Scared and Alone merch on there, which I bought roughly all of, and it's all great quality, well worth the money, and it holds up to washing and stays the same size. It's all good stuff. So get on there and get your Witches Movie Coven gear at mysterycontrol.com.
Please. Yeah, things like blankie snuggle blankies with Witches Movie Coven, really great stuff. So pop your popcorn, wrap in your blankie, get your Philip t-shirt. We've got it all. We've got Krampus, all sorts of things to talk about. So before we go, Richard-Lael, anything you want to say to anybody, where they can find you, anything coming up?
Yes, you can find me anywhere good gentleman psychics are sold. thegentlemanpsychic.com, the Gentleman Psychic on Instagram. Also, just look for my name, Richard-Lael Lillard. you could message me if I don't sound like myself, I'm probably not myself. So just find me.
Thank you. Everywhere I go. Courtney.
Me, I am at the Feems, FEMS, short for femur, on all of the social medias. You can keep up with Black Phillip on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I play horror games, and you can watch along and laugh at me while I get scared on Twitch. And then you can also watch me as Ghostbait on Scared and Alone at scaredandalone.com.
Perfect. Thank you. Heather?
Well, you can find all of my links and everything at heathergreene.net. That will link you to all my socials. I mainly am on Twitter, and I started to try to do a little more Instagram. But you can find me there, communicate with me. Currently doing a book tribute to all the authors I've worked with in 2022. As some of you know, I am a acquisitions editor at Llewellyn, so publishing. So I'm doing that there now. You can find some really great witchy books. I also have a Bewitched home that I help run, which has some really great witchy things too. So you can find me there with the bewitchedhome.com. And I now have a Black Phillip, so I will be joining the Black Phillip Brigade on Instagram. So keep a watch on my Instagram to find out where where he's going to be here down in the south. My Black Phillip actually is not purple. He just looks purple. And I think and I think that's it. And get my book. If you get one of our blankies and wrap yourself up, get my book, and lots of movies to watch for the winter.
Yay!
Lots of movies to watch. So thank you. Again, I am Patti Negri, pattinegri.com. You can get to all my right social media. I'm slowly getting verified. Finally on Instagram, I'm patti.negri. Facebook, Patti Negri Psychic Medium, the verified one. Twitter, we're working on that, but I'm just Patti Negri there. And on TikTok, I am home. I just finished traveling for 6 months. I'm home for the holidays. So whatever you choose to celebrate, happy month of holidays, everybody. Do join us again next week. Tell us what movies you want to see. You can find us all everywhere. Please do. Tell your friends about this. They can come watch it after the effect on Facebook and on YouTube. Check out The Witching Hour. All these folks are my guests on it. Check out Paraflix. If you want to learn some stuff, go to universitymagiccus.com. It's my online spirituality school. And yes, right on the front, it says a real life Hogwarts. Richard-Lael teaches with us. We're going to get everybody there. All different belief systems, just magic. All magic. So thank you all. And thank you, everybody. Matt and Robert and Tabitha and Gina and Mary Jane, everybody who participated, Anthony, we love you. Come back next week. I want to thank our producers, Rob Cohen and Christine Roth, for keeping our squares here, keeping us here, creating all our beautiful witches movie Coven stuff that we have online, including these fabulous new t-shirts and stuff. So we've got the wands up. We have one more thing to do, everybody. Now join us out there. 1, 2, 3. Remember, watch movies deliciously. See you next week.